Usually when you think about the concept of inventory, you you picture a very physical thing.
Right, like actual boxes.
Exactly. Cardboard boxes stacked high in some dusty warehouse or, neatly packaged products lining a retail shelf. Inventory is tangible.
It's countable.
Yeah, you can hold it in your hands. But if you happen to be a lawyer, your inventory looks completely different. For a lawyer, inventory isn't a product sitting on a shelf. Inventory is time.
It's entirely time.
Right, so every single minute you spend hunting down like a misfiled pleading or cross-referencing a faded sticky note just to check a court deadline.
Or formatting an invoice manually.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
That is an unbilled minute. It is literally inventory just vanishing into thin air. It costs you money, and worse, it adds massive amounts of unnecessary friction and stress to your day.
And, well, that vanishing inventory is exactly why we are diving into this plain English guide today. Because knowledge is really only valuable when it is applied. And the legal field is notoriously hesitant to overhaul its technology.
Right.
But overcoming that sheer reluctance to change is the very first critical step to stopping the leak.
Right.
When you reduce that administrative friction, you basically stop losing your inventory.
Which is why we're taking this deep dive into the case management system, or CMS, because it's essentially the cornerstone of modern legal productivity.
It really is.
We all know that stereotype of the traditional law practice, right?
Yeah.
Like the dusty law library, the endless stacks of paper, the heavy mahogany desks just buried in files.
Yeah, the classic movie lawyer office.
Exactly. Well, today we are breaking down how these centralized systems are completely revolutionizing the field by turning time back into something you can actually, capture and manage.
But you can't really solve the problem of lost time until you confront the physical clutter that steals it in the first place.
That makes sense.
It's easy to talk abstractly about efficiency, but the reality of a disorganized office environment is where the friction actually lives.
And the sources we're looking at today paint this incredibly vivid and honestly kind of anxiety-inducing picture of the traditional law firm setup.
Oh, it's highly stressful.
Right. Picture this. You've got these physical red weld folders. For anyone who doesn't know, those are those really thick accordion-style expanding files.
The heavy-duty ones.
Yeah, and they are just stuffed to the brim with loose paper documents. Then you've got this giant whiteboard hanging on the wall specifically to track your firm's deadlines.
Which someone has to manually update.
Exactly, with a dry erase marker. And on top of that, you are using an Excel spreadsheet to track your billable hours.
Oh, man.
And then at the end of the month, you have to boot up an entirely separate, disconnected software program just to send your invoices out to clients.
It is an incredibly fragmented way to work. Every time you switch from the physical red weld to the Excel sheet, and then from the Excel sheet to the invoicing software, you are losing momentum.
Yeah, you're constantly shifting gears.
Exactly. And this is exactly where the case management system steps in as what our sources call a digital command center.
A command center.
Right. A CMS takes all of those separate, disconnected, siloed tools and just rolls them into one comprehensive interface.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my brain immediately goes to the way I currently organize my own computer. And I'm a little skeptical that simply digitizing things fixes the problem.
How so?
Well, I have these nested folders inside of nested folders on my local hard drive. And honestly, half the time it feels like a digital junk drawer where things just disappear forever.
Right, the black hole of the desktop.
Exactly. I'll save a file, think I named it logically, and then I spend 20 minutes running search queries trying to find it again. So, does just putting everything on one screen actually save that much time?
That's a great question.
Or is it just about making the firm look, aesthetically organized? Because a messy digital folder is just as bad as a messy physical folder, right?
Yeah, that is a completely fair pushback. But it's not just about aesthetic organization. It is entirely about architectural friction reduction.
Architectural friction reduction. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's look at the specific example from the text. Say you have an active case. Let's call it Smith v. Jones. In the traditional setup, you might need to urgently review a client's deposition transcript to prepare for a call.
Okay.
But an associate saved that transcript to the local hard drive on their specific laptop.
Oh, no.
Meanwhile, the client's recent emails discussing that transcript are buried somewhere deep in your own Outlook inbox. And the notes from your last phone call are scribbled on a legal pad somewhere on your desk.
So you are spending your inventory, your time just playing detective to piece the narrative together.
Exactly.
So you're tracking down the associate, hoping they are even in the office, you're running keyword searches in your email, and you're literally flipping through physical paper just to locate the starting line of the work you actually need to do.
Right.
I can totally see how that drains an hour before you've even done any real legal analysis.
Precisely. Now, with the CMS solution, it acts as a true digital red weld. It doesn't just store files. It creates relationships between them.
What do you mean by relationships?
Well, every file, email, PDF, and note is tagged to a specific matter in a system. So if you click on the Smith v. Jones workspace, you instantly see a chronological timeline.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, of every document drafted, every email sent, and every phone call logged for that specific case, regardless of who in the firm did the work.
So instead of a digital junk drawer where you're just searching by file type or keyword, you're looking at a complete unified history of that specific client's entire universe.
Exactly. No more digging through nested computer folders or tracking down a colleague's laptop. The context is built into the architecture itself.
That makes the day-to-day workflow sound infinitely smoother.
It really is.
But, even if you perfectly tag every email and beautifully organize every PDF, that doesn't solve the most terrifying part of a lawyer's job.
The calendar.
The calendar. A misplaced document is incredibly annoying, but a missed deadline in the legal world isn't just an inconvenience. It is a career-ending disaster.
Oh, there's the ultimate nightmare.
Yeah.
The sources highlight this high-stakes reality very clearly. Missing a statute of limitations or a court filing deadline is a fast track straight to a malpractice claim.
That's terrifying.
It is not a, whoops, I'll just ask for an extension tomorrow situation. The rigidity of the court system creates an immense amount of baseline anxiety for legal professionals.
Because if you miss that date, your client could lose their entire case on a technicality and you could lose your license.
Exactly. The stakes couldn't be higher.
So how does a digital command center actually solve the deadline problem better than, say, a giant whiteboard where everyone can physically see it?
Through centralized firm-wide calendaring and docketing, that operates dynamically.
Dynamically.
Right. Because a whiteboard is static. If you write a date on it, it just sits there. But when you enter a trial date into a case management system, it doesn't just sit there like a dumb calendar appointment.
Okay, what does it do?
The system automatically calculates and populates all the associated deadlines based on the specific local court rules in your jurisdiction.
Wait, really? Here's where it gets really interesting, because I'm looking at this and thinking about the sheer complexity of court rules.
Oh, they're incredibly complex.
Are you saying the system actually knows the local jurisdictional rules and auto-populates the entire timeline? Like it maps out the discovery cutoffs, the pretrial motions, the witness lists?
Yes. It essentially works backward from the trial date. So if a jurisdiction requires expert witness disclosures exactly 45 days before trial, the system maps that out automatically.
But wait, I'd honestly be terrified to trust a machine with a deadline that could literally end my career.
A lot of lawyers feel that way at first.
Court rules are incredibly nuanced. What if 45 days lands on a Sunday or a state holiday? Does the software ever get it wrong?
It accounts for all of that.
But isn't there a massive danger of lawyers relying too much on the software? Like giving a smartphone to someone who's only ever used a rotary dial, trusting the machine blindly and not double-checking their dates. If the machine calculates the statute of limitations incorrectly, the judge isn't going to care that your software had a glitch.
That's true, and this raises an important question about the intersection of technology and professional responsibility. But what's fascinating here is that by offloading the rote, mechanical burden of calculating dates, the system actually frees up the lawyer's cognitive load.
To do what?
To focus on real legal strategy. Think about the mental energy it takes to manually calculate dates, subtract weekends, check specific local court holidays, and constantly double-check your math.
I'd probably need a nap.
Right, it's exhausting, and humans are notoriously bad at repetitive math, especially when they are stressed or rushed.
So the argument is that a human is actually far more likely to mess up the weekend math than a centralized database that is continuously updated with the latest court rules.
Exactly. The automation actively prevents human error rather than causing it. And furthermore, litigation is fluid. Judges move trial dates all the time.
Oh, sure.
If you are relying on a whiteboard and the judge pushes the trial back 3 weeks, someone has to physically erase and manually recalculate every single downstream deadline.
That sounds like a nightmare.
With a CMS, you change the primary trial date once, and the software instantly auto-updates the entire timeline and pushes alerts to the whole team. It keeps everyone perfectly in sync.
Okay, I buy that. It transforms the lawyer from an administrator doing calendar math back into a strategist.
Exactly.
So the deadlines are bulletproof, the cognitive load is lightened, and the documents are organized. But let's get back to the actual inventory we talked about at the very beginning.
Billable time.
Right. How does this beautiful, synchronized digital environment actually translate to billing for time?
Well, this brings us to a universal pain point in the legal world, and honestly, in any profession that bills by the hour.
The concept of the elusive point one.
Yes, the dreaded point one.
Okay. For you listening who might not be familiar with the quirks of legal billing, a point one is a 6-minute increment of billable time. Lawyers track their entire professional existence in these tiny 6-minute blocks.
It's very granular.
Yeah. And the source material gives this painfully relatable example of how this time, this inventory, just vanishes.
The driving example.
Exactly. Imagine you are driving, your phone rings, and it's a client. You answer it, have a quick 6-minute conversation, give them some solid legal advice, and then you hang up and just keep driving.
And because you are driving, you obviously don't write it down on a notepad in that exact moment.
Obviously not.
By the time you get to your destination, your brain has already moved on to the next crisis, and you completely forget the call ever even happened.
You just accidentally gave away free legal work. That point one increment of inventory just leaked right out the car window.
We really did.
And I imagine that happens 5, maybe 10 times a day with quick emails and short calls.
It does. And the compounding effect of that manual tracking leads to what the sources describe as a grueling 3-day billing process at the end of the month.
3 days. Just for billing.
Yeah. Picture a lawyer sitting at their dining room table on a Sunday night, surrounded by sticky notes, cross-referencing their personal cell phone call logs, trying to reconstruct their entire month from sheer memory.
That sounds awful.
It is a massive administrative slog.
Yeah.
It's miserable, and frankly, it's wildly inaccurate.
So how does the case management system stop that slow bleed of time?
By integrating time tracking directly into the workflow itself. Case management systems come with built-in timers that live right on your computer desktop and, crucially, on a smartphone app.
Okay.
So the exact second you take that call in your car, you tap the timer on your phone. Because that timer is tied directly to the client's matter in the app, the time entry is instantly logged.
So what does this all mean? For you listening, think about the mechanics of your own work. How game-changing is it to mechanically tie the action, the phone call, the document review, the quick email directly to the invoice in real time versus trying to desperately remember it a month later?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the implications are huge. I mean, it's not just about getting paid for that one 6-minute call.
Right.
It's about the integrity of the billing itself. It's about honesty and transparency because you know the time log is exactly what happened, not a panicked guess made 3 weeks later.
That builds client trust, too.
Exactly. And critically, it reclaims those 3 days of lost administrative work at the end of every month because the system pulls all those natively logged timers, formats them onto an invoice, and sends them out with just a few clicks.
Which is a massive quality of life improvement. And the sources point out that clients can even pay these invoices online via credit card through the system.
Which drastically speeds up the actual cash flow.
For sure. But, tying your billing directly to a smartphone app and making yourself that accessible creates a completely new, dangerous problem.
The boundary issue.
Right. If your entire practice lives on your phone, and clients know you just a tap away, how do you protect your personal time?
That is definitely the double-edged sword of constant connectivity.
Because the source text brings up a total nightmare scenario for boundaries. Imagine it is 8 p.m. on a Friday. You are finally at dinner with your family and your phone buzzes.
Ugh, the worst feeling.
It is a client texting your personal cell phone, asking for an update on their case, or even worse, from a liability standpoint, they are sending highly sensitive financial documents through an unencrypted, regular email account like it's no big deal.
And this introduces the CMS client portal. Most modern platforms that text specifically names Clio, My Case, Practice Panther, and Smokeball include this feature.
What exactly is it?
The client portal is a secure, encrypted website where the client gets their own specific, dedicated login. They can go there to view their case status, securely upload those sensitive financial documents, and send messages directly to the lawyer.
So it basically creates a professional wall. You aren't giving out your personal cell phone number anymore.
Exactly. It keeps work communications out of your personal iMessage or SMS texts, which establishes a vital work-life boundary.
That's huge for mental health.
It really is. But crucially, it also satisfies the lawyer's ethical duty to protect client confidentiality. Regular unencrypted email is incredibly vulnerable to interception.
Anyone could hack it.
Right. And lawyers have a strict ethical mandate to safeguard client data. The portal handles that mandate mechanically.
Okay, let's talk about the architecture of where all this sensitive data actually lives, because that is the elephant in the room with any new legal technology.
The cloud.
Yes. The source text notes that Clio, MyCase, Practice Panther, and Smokeball are all cloud-based systems.
Correct. The data is hosted on remote servers managed by the software providers rather than on a physical machine located inside the law firm's office.
Now, I have to push back on this because I know how a lot of professionals, especially lawyers, who deal with highly sensitive intellectual property or criminal records, think about their data.
They want it close by.
Exactly. Keeping a physical server in your own IT closet feels safe. You can lock the door, you can walk down the hall and physically look at the blinking lights.
Right.
Moving everything to the cloud feels risky to a lot of people. It is like comparing keeping your life savings hidden under your mattress to putting it in a digital bank account. You can see the mattress, you can touch it. So is it really safer than a physical server you can literally lock with a physical key?
The mattress analogy is actually perfect because it highlights the illusion of physical control. Yes, you can touch the mattress, but a mattress has absolutely no real security against a fire or a burglar.
Fair point.
The source material gives a definitive answer on this. The cloud is absolutely safer.
Why exactly? Because a lot of people hear the cloud and just think hacker target.
Let's break down the security architecture. A physical server in an unventilated IT closet at a local law firm is incredibly vulnerable.
To physical break-ins.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but the threat usually isn't a guy with a crowbar breaking the physical lock on the door. The threat is a phishing email that an associate clicks on, which drops ransomware onto that local server.
Oh, I see.
Local firms rarely have the budget for full-time cybersecurity teams, constant vulnerability patching, or enterprise-grade firewalls.
Right. The local IT guy who comes in on Tuesdays can't exactly fight off an international ransomware syndicate.
Precisely. Cloud-based CMS platforms, however, utilize bank-level encryption and are built on infrastructure like AWS or Microsoft Azure.
So they have real muscle behind them.
Exactly. They undergo rigorous SOC 2 compliance audits. They have entire dedicated teams of security engineers whose only job, 24/7, is monitoring for threats, patching vulnerabilities, and ensuring redundant distributed backups.
That's a lot of protection.
The level of security in the cloud is orders of magnitude more robust than what a mid-sized firm can maintain on-premise.
That makes perfect sense. The physical key to the closet is completely useless if the digital backdoor is wide open. And I imagine that cloud architecture offers a massive operational advantage, too.
It absolutely does. It enables secure remote work.
Mm-hmm.
Because the data isn't tethered to a physical server in a specific building, you can securely access your entire law firm from anywhere.
Anywhere with an internet connection.
Yes. You can pull up a case file on your laptop at the courthouse, you can review a brief on your tablet while sitting on your couch, or you can check a deadline on your phone at the airport. You have total geographic freedom without ever compromising client confidentiality.
Which completely changes the landscape of how the work actually gets done. It breaks the chain holding you to the mahogany desk.
It really does.
So looking at everything we've explored today, from the digital red welds and auto-calculating deadlines to the end-of-month billing salvation and secure client portals, what is the final verdict on the case management system?
The verdict is that the initial friction of adoption is entirely worth it. Yes, moving from a system, even a broken one, to a new digital platform requires a brief learning curve.
Sure, change is hard.
Change is inherently uncomfortable. But the return on investment is massive. A CMS fundamentally reduces administrative friction and actively safeguards professionals against malpractice risks by
I want to reiterate the most important point from our sources today. Ultimately, this technology allows lawyers to get back to doing what they actually went to law school to do in the first place.
Exactly.
They went to law school to practice law, to formulate strategy, and to advocate for clients. They didn't go to law school to hunt for physical folders, to do complex calendar math, or to spend their weekends chasing down 0.1 increments of missing time.
Right. It shifts the entire professional focus back to the high-value work. because the strategic thinking is what clients are actually paying for, not the administrative overhead.
And I want to directly connect this back to you listening right now. Even if you aren't running a law firm, we all have finite inventory in our
We
days.
all have limited time.
Exactly. Our time is limited. And chances are, whether you are in sales, healthcare, or running a creative agency, you have outdated manual systems in your own workflow that are quietly stealing that inventory from you every single day.
Which brings us to a crucial final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
If a profession is highly regulated, risk-averse, and steeped in centuries of tradition as the law can completely transform its daily operations by ditching whiteboards and embracing centralized digital systems, what physical red welds are you still clinging to in your own professional life that are secretly costing you time and peace of mind?